Hi, I'm Bob Vila. Welcome home again. We've got some exterior work going on today. We've got a backhoe here and we're digging a new trench so that we can put in a brand new water pipe in through the house. Also, we're going to be spending a little time back at Naumkeag in Stockbridge, Massachusetts, checking out the fabulous gardens there. And here on the third floor, we're doing some carpentry work, some trim work. All of our new moldings have come from the mill, and so we've got Ryley up there working. Also, our spindles have returned from the strippers. Stick around. It's good to have you home again.
Bob Vila's home again.
John J. Hawley, Inc. is the oldest licensed utility contractor in the city of Cambridge. They've been doing water service and other utility connections for quite a long time. And they showed up here this morning to start digging a trench. They were quite relieved to see that our soil conditions here are very favorable. We have soft clay and lots of sand. So they made quick work of digging through about 15 feet of the front garden. Getting through the foundation was the tougher part of the job. We've got a stone that's locally referred to as ironstone. We think it comes from the Worcester part of Massachusetts, and it's a real tough stone to break through. But we are now at the point where we can talk with Dick Hawley about the work that has to be done right here. Dick, the first question I want to ask is, why does a homeowner need to do this? Why bother to replace the existing water service pipe?
The existing service that was in the ground right now that services the house is galvanized lead-lined pipe.
So if you do have a lead-lined pipe, that indicates that it is a replacement pipe, right? It's not the original 100-year-old pipe.
That is correct, Bob.
And yet it still poses a certain amount of a health hazard. I know that the town recommends that you change these pipes. It doesn't require you to, but they recommend that you change them. And I know that very often people are warned that it's a good idea to have the water flow for a minute or two in the morning before you drink any of your tap water.
That is correct.
Yeah. So we have gotten now to the point that you've broken through the foundation. What's happening next?
The next step, Bob, is we're going to push a driving bar through, and it should come through the banking here. We'll take the driving bar back.
So we've got
push in copper.
We've got to ask your son to go ahead and push through the other side.
Richard, drive the pipe.
There it comes. There it comes.
There it is.
So
that's good.
This is a solid iron pipe?
Yes, it is.
And it's basically gone maybe 8 feet across the foundation and through the remaining 4 feet of soil here that we haven't excavated, so that we haven't bothered our bushes and plants.
That's correct, Bob.
Yeah. And now you've got a temporary hole there that rod has made, and you can just push the copper through down there?
Hopefully we won't hit an obstruction and the copper will come right through.
Okay. Now, why do we go to copper? What's the advantage of copper?
The copper pipe, being the type of metal that it is, will avoid corrosion. You'll never have restriction on the 1-inch diameter of the pipe.
And they just didn't have that available to them, that kind of pipe available to them when they replaced this service maybe 50 years ago.
That is correct.
Now, does the size of the pipe indicate that you'll have a stronger volume of water in the house?
The 1-inch copper will provide you with more volume of water as opposed to the galvanized lead line, which has corroded threaded connections.
Okay.
Which in many cases, if held up to the light, you may only see a pinhole opening.
Sure. But the bottom line is the pressure that you have on the street doesn't vary. That's what you're going to get inside.
That is correct.
Good.
That is correct.
Thanks, Dick. We got to break for some messages. Stick around. Why do you bother to backfill it by hand?
We place 6 inches of fill material over the top of the copper by hand, Bob, to eliminate the problem of any large stones or debris perhaps resting directly on the copper and causing it to be crimped.
So that it could be compressed and you can
That's
crimp
correct.
that pipe. Good, okay. And then the rest of the work is done by the machine.
Yes.
Now, you've gotten to the edge of the street here. We have to wait for the water department to do the rest. Why is that?
The water department from Cambridge will do the tie to the main on the far side of the street, come to the sidewalk and tie into the piece that I've left underneath the sidewalk.
All right, very good. And hopefully that's on schedule for the day after tomorrow or so. Well, while we're putting our landscape back in order, let's take a tour of the landscape at Naumkeag in Stockbridge, Massachusetts. Watch. We're visiting Naumkeag in Stockbridge, Massachusetts. Last week, if you were with us, you saw the inside of this fabulous house. Today, we're getting together again with its curator, Mark Baer, to tour the gardens. Hi, Mark.
Good to see you.
The the house was inherited by the daughter,
Right, Mabel Choate.
Mabel Choate.
The Choate family.
and she's responsible for all the work on the landscape, right?
That's right. During her later years, she designed 8 acres of gardens surrounding the house, working with Fletcher Steele, a landscape architect from Boston.
And he was kind of an innovative guy.
That's
This
right.
is 1920s, 1930s. He's at Harvard, and he's bringing a lot of new ideas into the field of landscape architecture.
That's it, exactly. And here they had a lot of fun. Mabel Choate and Fletcher Steele both traveled through Europe. So they brought a lot of those ideas back. And here, in the afternoon garden, with a center parterre of boxwood, contrasting borders of this coal and the marble chips.
Yeah, I'm used to seeing an 18th century parterre, say, with a lot of bedding plants with color, but here he's actually using minerals. He's got crushed marble and coal.
That's right.
And what's the oval in the middle?
In the center, an inch-thick piece of black glass to give the sense of a very deep pool, a reflecting pool, for you, a place to contemplate.
It's really a marvelous effect. And then, of course, the thing that really catches my eye is all the red and blue tops to the posts here that look like they're right out of Venice.
That's right. Venice was one of Mabel Choate's favorite European cities. So Fletcher Steele had a Scandinavian woodcarver from his office carve these gondola poles to remind her of her favorite European city.
An international effort.
Right.
So where should we go from here?
Well, we can follow out, looking down. We can follow the path of this water as it courses its way down the hillside to the Birch Walk.
Give us an idea of the size of the property here.
There are a total of 50 acres. 8 of them are landscaped.
Okay. And where does this wonderful path with the coursing water down the middle, where does it lead to?
This leads to the Birch Walk, which heads down the hillside, a series of 4 cascading stairs with fountains.
You never think of a landscape architect or designer having 50 acres to play with, but here he's done some specialized things, like with these trees.
That's right, these birches, which started 60 years ago and have been interplanted to give the sense of age and also to help with the view.
Yeah, so that you've created almost a little jungle of white birch here. What's
That's
the deal
right.
with all the steps and the ramps?
The water that starts up in the afternoon garden channels down here, so below each flight of stairs is a fountain carrying water down the hillside.
Of course, with this terrain being so hilly, we're in the Berkshires.
That's right.
You had to do something practical in order to get down there, right?
And that's what they did.
Yeah. But it's an unusual approach. It's not just a staircase.
No, there was a steep flight of stairs originally.
Aha.
They replaced it with the 4 flights of cascading stairs.
So it's almost like a series of little belvederes.
That's right.
Each one, when you stop, has a closer look at the surrounding
Cutting gardens.
landscape. Yeah. Well, that's right. So the cutting gardens were originally down at the end, but they're no more, right?
That's right, in the green space down below.
It's really a beautiful statement, you know?
That's right, with the views.
Yeah. Well, where to next?
How about we go see the rose garden, and on the way we'll stop by the terraces.
All right.
Naumkeag's built on a hilltop, so the idea for the landscape designer is to control it, and they did that by building a series of terraces. We're on the top terrace here. It cascades down through an espaliered apple and some oriental tree peonies, 60 of them, which were imported from the Orient in the 1930s, to a middle terrace, and then finally a working terrace down below with an 80-foot greenhouse.
Now, the espaliered apples look like they've been there for quite a few years.
Yeah, they were put in the late 30s, so they've got some age to them.
Indeed. And of course, I guess Mrs. Choate was traveling at a point in time where you could go through Europe and you could collect things like this, couldn't you?
This lead cistern from England,
Yeah.
pick things like that up. In Asia, these oriental spirit stones.
Yeah. The spirit stones, okay. But the cistern is actually, I mean, it appeals to me so much in the garden because it's something that belongs to the house. The downspout from the gutters of the roofs would terminate here, and this would be a collection point for water.
That's true.
And this one says 1707. Isn't that wonderful?
That's great, yeah.
So what do we have here?
Then down below, we're looking at the rose garden, which took its idea from oriental motifs for mushrooms. You see the curving paths represented by the marble chips, and the caps of the mushrooms with the floribunda roses, filling in this whole space.
So it's a Chinese idea.
That's right.
And the hardscape, is it paved or is it just loose gravel in there?
Loose gravel held in place by wrought iron strips.
Okay. It's nice that Naumkeag is open to the public, and we have some of the public visiting right now. But tell me about this whole edge over here with the purple columns.
The retaining wall is made out of the wrought iron painted purple by Fletcher Steel with cypress as the wood. Thick planks of cypress.
So that's actually holding up that whole terrace above, which has these beautiful arborvitae, these clipped arborvitaes planted on it. So is this the last garden that they created?
Actually, the last garden, and for the last 20 years of Mabel Choate's life, they worked on the Chinese garden, which is on the north end of the house. It combines a series of temples, one large temple with roof material imported from Peking. Surrounding that are a series of ornamental sculptures, all imported from China, interplanted with ginkgos for shade. There are Japanese pedicites, a large-leafed burdock root plant beneath. We have indigenous plants like Father Hugo rose, flowering cherries, some Chinese finger stones, which are water-worn stones, real beautiful stones placed there for contemplation.
Magnificent effort. Mark, thanks for the tour.
Thank you.
Okay, we're back from those beautiful gardens, and as you can see out there, the backhoe is now digging a trench for the new electrical service, but I wanted to get back to carpentry, and let me show you. Our stock has arrived from the mill. We've had all the moldings, window casings, door casings, chair rails, everything that was in the house. We've had it replicated in poplar, and the main objective was to be able to save money, because if we had taken all of that woodwork off the house and sent it to be stripped, it would have averaged about $1.50 a foot. To have new millwork done is more like 85 cents a foot. So it makes a lot of economic sense sometimes to rip out what's there and replace it with new stock. I mean, I wouldn't do it if we were looking at 150-year-old, 200-year-old hand-milled stuff, but this is different. Some stuff we did bother to send to our friends, Old Bostonian in Dorchester, who did a marvelous job of removing all the built-up paint off of the balusters from the staircase. And you see how crisp all that turning is. Interesting thing to note is a number of the balusters are probably broken over the course of the years, and they were replaced with others that were turned out of different wood. The originals are all poplar, and this is just pine. But anyway, let's go up to the 3rd floor and hook up with Ryley, who's having fun with some of this stuff. If you look on the landing here on the wall, you'll see the ghost of that chair rail I was just talking about, which often, it's also called a dado. It often separates an area that would have been painted a solid color, and then the area of wall above it, all the way to the top, would have been wallpapered. And if you look way up there, you'll notice that there's a green stripe there. That's actually probably the original wallpaper from this hall. Other elements of the staircase, like the newel posts, we've left in place and stripped in place. It would have not been practical to try to take them in to have them stripped in a tank. And you'll notice here where we have this beautiful post that goes all the way to the ceiling, you can tell it's poplar. This, of course, will be sanded down and repainted. This railing with a nice curve in it, this is also poplar, but it was originally stained to look like mahogany. We'll do the same thing. O'Reilly.
Hey, Bob.
Hey. Hey, what you up to?
Hey, Bob. Well, we're just hanging the first door here.
The first of the old doors to go back in. That's exciting.
Yeah. And it fits. Great.
Now, these, of course, have also been sent to be stripped, and we're using new hinges, right?
We had to use new hinges. The old ones didn't work.
It's interesting. We found out that the old ones were brass plated.
Right, and it just deteriorated too much.
Well, this was a house that was built with economy in mind, and they didn't spring for the solid brass even back in 1897. Here's a mock-up of the trim, though, that you've used, right?
Yes, and what you have there, this is the jamb.
Yeah.
And that one on first. Excuse me, this is the casing. That one on first, then the jamb on this side here, which was this piece, and then this applied molding on the side.
And this is an exact replica of what we have throughout the house.
Right, so it's a 3-piece system on this side, and then there's also going to be a 3-piece system on the back.
On the inside.
We've just done the front for now so we can start baseboarding out the room.
Am I looking at old structural lumber there?
This is the buck. So this is actually the way you would hang a door today would be hung on this buck here.
Right.
So everything that we've done is applied on top of that.
Which is a full dimensional 2x4.
It's 1.25 inches. 1.25
inch
stock, right. So it's pretty beefy,
well, we're reusing as much as we can. Let's see how it looks closed up.
It's
going to be nice when it's all painted out.
Yeah, it'd be real nice.
Super.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the smallest bedroom on the 3rd floor, and we're getting the windows in, and you're getting the baseboard in. That's great.
Yeah, it's 2-piece base.
Our friends at the Strippers also redid some of these old sash that have the original glass in them and everything. And look how nicely it comes out down to bare wood. These are brass, aren't they?
Yes, they are. Yeah.
Good, good. All right, so are you trimming out the windows yet, Ryley?
That's, we've just started our first window over here, so we're also working the kinks out of this.
Okay.
And what I want to do first is finish this insulation.
Yeah, we've taken out the old sash weights that are throughout the house, because when you add up all the volume of the space that these things go up and down in, and you turn it into one number, it's almost like having a window open without insulation in it throughout the winter. So we'll be replacing these with the spring-loaded runners. And
so we've managed to salvage these stool caps.
well, that's nice, because they are milled, right? There's some of the original millwork that goes straight into the windowsill.
Right, so we're making an awful lot of this stuff from scratch, so these we managed to save. And we're just going to screw this right on.
Then what piece goes on next?
Now we've got the side casings.
Now let me look at that. As I understand, we had to cut these down in this profile,
Right.
so that they fit in right, because this.
I think that they might have had a problem when they first built this house, because these window jambs stick in past the plaster by about 3/8 of an inch. So we had to make this rabbit.
It's a little archaeology, but what we've discovered is that they used, instead of full 2x4s, which would have been 4 inches back in 1897, they used the then newly available smaller dimension.
The 3.5.
Yeah.
Right.
And what that meant was that the window didn't quite fit appropriately, and so they had to modify the trim that had already been ordered.
So what that means is we have to do the same thing.
Right. Okay, so you've got it nailed roughly every 6 inches or so. What's next? What do we apply next?
The next thing is going on is this applied molding.
Let's look at that. This is, again, one of the ones that's just been turned for us. And it will be cornered with a miter. And this is the 3rd piece, which is, what do you call that?
This is the stop, the window stop.
Exactly, and the sash slides up and down. Now this last piece that we're applying is known as the apron, and here we are using the original. We did bother to have it stripped for one reason, the fact that the ends of the apron were cut by the carpenter 100 years ago with a coping saw. And that is a lot of tedious work to replicate, so we're using the same one. Thanks, Ryley.
Okay.
We'll be back after these messages. And we're back, and what an exciting moment when you see the drywall sheets coming in the window. This is the 2nd floor. We're doing the house in stages. We've already finished the 3rd floor, and we're also running out of time. Come home again next time. We're going to be showing you how to install a pocket door. That's downstairs, and we'll be taking a look at the completed exterior of the house. All the shingles are done. We're going to be talking appropriate paint color schemes. So then, I'm Bob Vila. It's great to have you home again.